Okay, I click start streaming. So we are live. Don't say anything that you don't want out there somewhere because
Make sure I keep my personal thoughts to myself.
This is 28 through the end.
Yes.
Finally,
Gotta finish
Jesus.
this thing up.
God, it's just one of those books that felt like it truly was never going to end.
I know.
Where it's just like issue after issue. Okay, here's
Like,
a link.
I think the first half we were doing really great, and then the last half is like, oh no.
I know, and I've definitely learned to lighten up about that a little bit. If you want to, that is my IP address. What? Oh,
I want to tweet it out.
Yeah, there's a link. I'll put it in Discord.
Cool.
Hi, if you're watching the VOD of this stream, you see this is secret Patreon only Skyhoppers Discord stuff that you're seeing on your screen right now. Wow, super special, super secret. Although actually, I guess I don't know. No, it's capturing Discord. Okay, never mind. Sorry, I thought OBS was hiding it from you, but it's not. Okay. Do I have all my beverages? Okay, that's very important. I do have to check in with you since enough time has passed. Mm-hmm. Noticing any differences on Twitter, or is it all still like the same thing? Same stuff?
I haven't noticed anything different, honestly.
That is so funny, because it just makes me wonder, like, how much does the experience change for the average user? From what I'm hearing from you, not much.
Yeah, to me, it feels like nothing has changed at all, but I don't even know if I'm the average user is the thing,
Yeah. Yeah, I guess, defining average user. The average Twitter user is actually probably somebody I don't even want to talk to or know anything
probably.
about. So, hello, Fetmatic. He has arrived.
Hey,
congrats on getting down to 10 trophies needed for Platinum on Bounty Hunter. That's pretty sick.
Yeah.
It's nice that whenever people come in, I can interact directly, because, like, I don't know. I guess I could just send the message, but in the Discord, I'm just like, oh, I'm working. BB-8 thumbs up. Like, I saw your message, but here I can be like, hey, congrats. Like, I could say something.
Yeah. Eva's finally watching Andor, or at least started. Very exciting.
Finally.
I imagine, now that they're started, it won't take very long.
No, it probably won't. They're just going to tear through it. It's, I don't know. And it's nice that I'm torn, because I think that, like, something like The Acolyte, I think it'd be sick to have, like, hour-and-a-half long episodes. Do, like, a Stranger Things season 4 where it's like every episode is like a short movie.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I do like that Star Wars has more or less stuck to the sub hour 45-minute kind of time length of episode. Even if it has been, in the case of, like, I think the tragedy in Mando season 2, isn't that episode like 25 minutes long or something?
I think the shortest one was like 35. I think there's a couple of Mando episodes that are like 35, 36-ish, I think. And the first couple episodes of Andor were also on the shorter side like that.
That's true.
It's harder to remember that because all three of them came out at the same time.
Yeah, so it felt like an hour and a half worth.
You just got to blaze through all three of them.
Yeah.
But then after that, Andor was pretty consistently like 45 to 55 minutes.
Yep. And now it's over. 2 years.
Just gotta wait for the next one.
Oh my god. It hurts. I just can't.
But we have a date for Mando, which is nice.
We do, and we have a date for what will probably be a date for Jedi Survivor now.
Yep. We'll know for sure in a couple days if the fake date is the real date.
Sure. Hello,
There's no reason to
Torch.
think it won't be right. Yay.
Hello. I do want to let you know we did get your email over at Skyhoppers, but we did not record this week. So it is still sitting on the back burner, but don't think that we had forgotten about it because we did see it. Also, I'm going to talk about that here. Cole, I don't know if you saw that email.
I don't think I did.
I brought up, it was here, I think. It had to have been here. I brought up, no, I'm going to wait until we're on the show. I'm going to wait till the show has started recording. So we should probably go ahead and do that.
Yeah, we can go and do that. No reason not to.
Because I just have my own, I don't know. I don't remember if I was an asshole or not. But my own,
you know.
Yeah, my own, I was being me. And for ones that actually, I don't know, I came back to bite me in the butt, I think is a little strong. Because Torch didn't seem particularly angry. But anyway, I am recording. No, I'm not.
All right.
Hang on. Why?
Well, I am.
What?
I am recording.
No, sorry.
So.
I know. I heard what you said. I'm trying to figure out. Oh, because that's not armed to record. How many times have I done this? Okay.
Armed and ready.
I am. Yes, I am. I am ready to record.
Prepare the thought bomb.
God, what a just a. I don't know. I don't want to say it's dumb, but it's
It is kind of dumb.
It is. I think it's like the. I think it's the weakest element of this book. Anyway, my mic is super hot. For that, I apologize. Hopefully it's good now. We want to get. You're kind of doing that thing that. Have you seen that GIF of that cat? It's like.
Oh yeah.
That's. Is that what you're? Is that what you're channeling? Because that's what.
Now that you say it, yeah.
Oh my god. Hang on. My dad is calling me. Just a minute.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead. Family calls. Family matters. Everything good?
Yeah. Let me make sure that I didn't screw up my recording there. No, I've got waveforms again. We can actually, I guess, start over anyway. It doesn't matter. But no, he just needs me to. Does your furnace? Have you ever had a furnace that has like a condensation bucket?
I think so.
I think furnaces are normally set up to like drain this automatically. But our furnace, for as long as I can remember, at my parents' house, it's not our furnace, feels weird. For as long as I remember, that furnace has had a bucket under like a spout that would catch a drip of water.
And you said to empty it every now and then?
Yes. And he was like, "Can you do me a huge favor? Can you come and empty the furnace bucket because they're going to be in Michigan this weekend." So yeah,
gotcha.
And my youngest brother, normally they'd have him do it, but he is also going to be out of town. So it's this weird confluence of things where I have to go attend to the bucket. But there are worse things. Okay, I'm restarting my recording.
You want me to restart mine too?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
If you don't mind.
No worries. All right, I am fresh now.
Okay, let us clap. Here we go. 3, 2, 1, go. Awesome. let's do this. We have wasted more than enough time. I feel like a dad phone call is a very classic way for us to waste time. It just seems absurd enough. Here we go. Oh, hi, Tom. Now, here we go. Listen up, library patrons, and welcome back to Obroa-Skai Walkers. I am one of your librarians, Ben, and I am joined by my fellow librarian, Cole.
Hey.
We are back. Have we missed 1 or 2 weeks?
Just 1 week.
Okay. I can't.
I think it's just this happened twice in a row, I think, where we had to delay a week, so it's been like, 4 weeks and only 2 episodes.
Oh god. I know. We're terrible. I'm sorry. But
was the first one? I think the first one was you sick, and then it was me sick. Yeah. So it's just going around.
It is. It's just the time of year.
I attended a birthday party, and apparently everyone at the party got sick. So.
Well, I mean, thankfully, you said it was just kind of a
it was just annoying. Yeah, it was just annoying sickness, but it killed my voice, so I couldn't really do very much.
And maybe on Skyhoppers we could get away with something like that. Not here, because there are just not enough hosts over here. I can handle like a 15-minute podcast on my own. I could not carry an Obroa-Skai Walkers episode on my own. I'd have to do the notes. I'd have to do all of it, and I simply could not. Anyway, we're here. We are ready to put the final nail in the coffin of Path of Destruction. Or will be eventually anyway. Of course, you know how we are. We're going to waste some time first. Talking about things that are not the book that we sat down to talk about. I'm currently looking for a random article, but one of the things I started talking about here on the stream, because we are live on YouTube with some of our lovely listeners. Last time we recorded, I believe, I brought up the Clone Wars Gambit duology. I hesitate to call it a duology. I also don't want to call it. Duology feels too much. Series also feels too much. So, duo. I'm going to say duo.
It's a duology. It's a pair of books.
Sure. So anyway, I brought that up because I had seen somebody on the Expanded Universe subreddit asking about them. And I was like... And that's why I asked you what you thought, so on and so forth, because there was someone in that thread who I felt like was vehemently angry. And
vitriolic about it.
Vitriolic about it. Not like toxically so, but very clearly did not like the books.
Mm-hmm.
And turns out that person was none other than our friend of the show and listener, Torch, who is in this very YouTube chat right now. So I'm certainly glad I didn't say anything that was legitimately offensive or deprecating towards you, Torch. Or if I did, I apologize. And I'm glad you were still here with us. That just goes to show, this show doesn't have like a reach, right? I wouldn't say the show has a reach. But Torch is someone that neither of us know in real life.
Mm-hmm.
Found our podcast somehow. What I'm learning is I need to stop calling out people on the Expanded Universe subreddit because
it might be someone we know.
Someone I know. So that was a fun little email to get.
Yeah, I definitely have seen Torch occasionally pop up. I don't pay too much attention to who's posting specifically.
That's the problem.
Every now and then I'll see it. Yeah, that's the thing. Every now and then I was like, oh yeah, hey, I recognize you. And occasionally I'm like, should I say something? I'm not going to say anything. I don't like to comment very much.
No, well, it's just funny too that I don't know. I know I've talked about times that I've seen you come up in the Expanded Universe subreddit, which is funny because I'm not a commenter either. I do on occasion, and I go back and look at my comment history sometimes, and yeah, I wanted to fight a lot. It felt like back in 2014. Not even fight, just I was really angry at people who were angry. Just why are you so mad about this? Calm down.
It's if I happen to stumble across a post asking a question early and no one's answered it, I'll try to be informative.
Right.
It's like, hey, I can actually help here and steer this person in a good direction, hopefully.
Well, and see,
That's usually what I'm trying to do.
I feel like that is our thing. We both feel that way because I've done the same thing. Like, I know that I have a comment, someone was asking about like, oh, I remember when I was growing up, there was a book series about these two kids and there was like a plague or something at one point. And I'm like, are you talking about Galaxy of Fear? Is this your card? And I do like that is our energy. We are, as a podcast.
Is this your legend?
Is this your legend? Yeah, I don't know, but anyway.
Is that the Emperor's Plague?
That reminds me, I need to finish it up. I only have 2 Young Jedi Knights books left, and honestly, it makes me kind of sad. I'm not ready. However, I did pick up this bad boy the other day. The High Republic.
Oh, nice,
Convergence. Still got the ugly Target sticker on.
I don't think I picked that one up yet.
It does have a really nice cover. I will say, Path of Deceit, I feel like, overall, I'm not as bought into the setup of Phase 2 as much as I was to Phase 1. Light of the Jedi, one of my favorite, if not my favorite, canon Star Wars novel, right? Like, really good. I thought that book was fantastic. I was hooked immediately. Path of Deceit, very good book. And I've talked about that before. I thought the book was fantastic. I thought the characters were great. And it's like, the setup is good, but it's not as immediately grabbing as Light of the Jedi was. And I was reading this obviously means nothing, but I was reading the excerpt that came out a couple months ago. One of the excerpts, which I'm seeing now, I think was like the first chapter or 2, maybe. I wasn't wowed by it. And I read it again. It felt a little better, but I was still like, okay, let's see where this goes. So it's got some big shoes to fill, but I'm trying to be like, I haven't read anything High Republic that I've truly disliked. So how bad can it be, right? I think it'll be good. I'm optimistic. I'm seriously not far into it, like, at all. It's been one of those things where every night I go to bed and I try to read and something happens. Something comes up and I can't read. That's how it's felt the last few nights anyway, but.
Yeah, I haven't made a ton of progress on The Rising Storm. I'm like a quarter-ish of the way through it.
Okay. Now, do you have any worthwhile thoughts to share?
Well, I think I mentioned before that the chapters tend to be really short, and I find that a little bit frustrating. And something else I've noticed, I feel like it's dropped off a little bit, but for a while there, I feel like every other chapter ends in a death fake out.
Oh, I noticed that.
And I was like, if this continues, this is going to annoy me. Like I said, I feel like it has stopped in the last few chapters, so I haven't noticed it as much. But for a while there, I was like, you keep doing this, and it's not working at all.
It's not good. It's not good. Yeah, I remember that. I'd forgotten all about that. Yeah, not, it's hard to say that, like, it's hard to say it's the weakest one, but I think it's the weakest in a trilogy of 3 very good books, I think. Of course, that's a matter of opinion, but that's how I feel about it. It's still very good though. So I don't get it twisted.
Yeah.
Only positive
and I've
things.
Now met the Leveler the first time, which is interesting.
The Leveler, don't know what to make of it. We're learning a little more as we get into Phase 2. I say learning a little more. We have been exposed to, we'll say, similar things already in Phase 2. And I definitely don't dislike it. I'm intrigued. I'm just unsure. Apprehensive is the wrong word, because that implies that I'm like, I don't know. But really, I'm just like...
You think it's okay for us to talk about a little bit about what it is, or what it does, or whatever?
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
Yeah, that book has been out for over a year at this point. Yeah, I think
I don't want to go into it too hard. And I don't know very much beyond, the initial reveal of it, whatever you want to call it. But I'm like, oh, it's feels like edgier Ysalamiri.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I kind of feel like it's like Star Wars has gone to this well before, and I don't know if it's. I feel like Zahn did what you needed to do with it, and I don't know if you needed to go back to it, but it doesn't feel very original to me.
Yeah, I don't. Mogo's in chat. Hi, Mogo. We are talking about the Rising Storm, which Cole is.
Yeah.
He said roughly a quarter of the way into.
Quarter-ish, quarter, third, something like that. Like the fair hasn't really kicked off yet.
Well, and see, I think it's funny. I think overall the Ysalamiri are obviously a very Legends thing, and I don't think they would ever bring them back into canon. I don't. I think it's one of those things that like is like George Lucas sacrosanct for some reason, even though some things that should be aren't. You know, you know, like weird choices are made on in that regard. But it just they feel like more of a canon thing to me because it felt like canon's treatment of the Force, and we're learning this, I think, a lot more through the High Republic era, because I have been catching up on comics, finally. The High Republic comic, really good. The first, I think I've only read the first 2 issues so far, still holding up. I'm very interested. But in phase 2, there's so much talk of like these different Force traditions and how different cultures view the Force. Like that's kind of a theme of at least the beginning here of phase 2, which is all fine and good. Like I'm into that. Cool. I feel like, I don't know. I could be totally off base here. I feel like Legends treated the Force as something that was there, and obviously later on, especially like as Jason starts to get more and more powerful, and time goes on, they start inventing, you know, Force stuff. I felt like for a long time, especially in the Bantam era, the Force was just kind of there. It was like a fixture, like they didn't talk about it too much, and now it's like they're like talking about it more. So I feel like something with the like the Ysalamiri in the form of the Leveler is more fitting here, but because we've gone so long without dealing with stuff like that, it's starting to it feels a little out of place. It feels a little weird, and I think that's kind of what the apprehensive part of my feeling on it. I think that's where that comes from, is all of a sudden it's like, oh, the Force is like a up front, and it's the thing, and we're exploring it more rather than just having it be kind of set dressing and like an interesting narrative device when it needs to be, but otherwise just kind of being there and like an accepted part of our, you know what I mean? Where it's kind of taken for granted almost.
Yeah. And another thing I've noticed is that I feel like it's got to be comic stuff that it's referencing. Like they talk about the Drengir threat being like, you know, popping up all over the place and dealing with it. I'm like, I guess that must have all been in the comics, because I feel like they got introduced and dealt with and Into the Dark pretty handily.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay, I guess there's more going on here. And that's the, you know, the downside of just being a book reader, not following everything. And also a couple of like the smaller young adult books that I haven't read that I think take place before this, maybe.
I will say overall, I think...
Like, which one was it? Race to Crash Point Tower, maybe?
Yeah, overall, I will say the things that I think you were missing by not having read the middle grade novels are mostly just character introductions, or like we spend more time with characters. I don't think those are quite as important. Whereas, like, without spoiling too much, I won't say anything like majorly specific. Avar Kriss is like mostly absent from the High Republic books, because her story is she's treated as one of these 3, Stellan, Elzar, and Avar. She's not there, and it's a bit of a spoiler. She doesn't get there. Yeah, Tom says it. Avar Kriss's whole career is in the comics, and that's cool. Like, the High Republic comic is so good. I love Avar Kriss so much, but she just kind of drops off and jumps into the comic. So if you are only reading the books and you read Light of the Jedi and think, oh my god, I love this character, it's like, she's gone. You know,
Well,
and it's hard because
hope you like comics.
Yeah, and it's like I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing because I am someone who does read comics, so or at least Star Wars comics, so I'm able to keep up with it. I know what's going on, but some people aren't. Some people don't. Some people are, I don't know, can afford like one book a year, and they read the High Republic books over 3 years. They can't afford comics.
Or they, get them from the library and just read them there, and that's all they do. And
exactly. So
the library probably doesn't have the comics.
It's weird because I am all for the universe expanding and for, I don't know, it's just me being inconsistent again, I think, or hypocritical, where I want things. I think I want things one way, and then they do it that one way, and I'm like, no, not like that.
Yes, but not like that, please.
It's just hard because I don't think it's bad what they did, but I do think you kind of miss out if you are only in the books. Whereas I feel like there are things that I missed from, say, like the X-Wing comics that I've not read. And every once in a while, characters will show up in like the X-Wing novels or elsewhere in Legends. But I don't feel like I've missed that much. Whereas, you're like, oh, the Drengir threat, they're everywhere. And it's like, wait, I thought, didn't we finish that?
I thought we dealt with that?
I thought we dealt with
that.
I
mean, I didn't think it was the end of it, but
sure.
It does feel like there's a chunk missing. And it's like, there is. It's in this whole other medium that I'm not particularly interested in.
I know, and it's hard because I want them to tell meaningful stories in the comics. It's hard. It's a hard balance to strike, and as someone who is involved with all of it, I like that they've done it this way. But I do have kind of a weird feeling for people who are only in one or the other, So who knows? Maybe that's still some kind of like internalized bias against comics because I just still vastly prefer novels. But before I don't know. I mean, I guess we talked about Andor on Skyhoppers.
We did
last week.
I mean, I think we should at least mention here that it was great.
It was really good. It was very good. We obviously have more in-depth thoughts on a podcast episode that already came out. So you can go check that out over there.
If for some reason you were waiting to watch all of it when it came out, finished, get on it because it's great.
You are missing out if you haven't.
I mean, now you have 2 years to get it before the next season comes out. So
that's true.
Now we're all just patiently waiting.
Patiently, air quotes.
Patiently.
I'm not patiently waiting. I am impatiently waiting.
I've got my Blu-ray sitting over there so I can rewatch it whenever I want.
Oh, I've been holding off. I don't know why. I gotta send the message. I gotta source this Blu-ray. I gotta have it. If not, just so I can close this tab and clean up my browser a little bit, because I've had the browser up since you sent the link. We have a little bit of news though, don't we?
Yeah. We got a release date for Mandalorian season 3, which was March 1st, I think.
March. That's what's in my head, but I'm wondering if they just said March.
I'm double checking.
Yeah,
I'm double checking it. I'm pretty sure they said specifically. Yeah, it's March 1st. Yeah.
Ooh, that's not that far away.
No, it's not.
That's about as far away as Andor was, and Andor felt like once we got that trailer at Celebration, I felt like Andor was like here and happening. I don't know. Mando, especially seeing what some of these other shows have done, Mando kind of like, I think it's, for me, I know it's still a lot of people's favorite show. I feel like some of the luster of Mando has worn off a little bit. That's how I feel. That's how I feel.
Yeah.
But then I start thinking about it, and I'm like, oh no, I absolutely want to know what's going on with the Mandalorian and Grogu. I'll even give him that. Because I know they talked about it a little bit. I think maybe it was on Star Wars Newsnet, which is, just kind of like they go through interviews and grab the good stuff. So I am just reading paraphrased interviews. Good site though. That's not disparaging. I do get a lot of stuff from there. But Jon Favreau said something about, I think it was Jon Favreau, said something about wanting to have like a big moment every episode. Did you see this quote? I don't know if he said a big reveal or a big surprise, but he said something.
I saw this.
I think he said something along those lines.
Wouldn't surprise me. That sounds like a Jon Favreau thing to say.
It just makes me, depending on the context, depending on a lot of things, I kind of don't know how to feel about that, you know? The Jon Favreau and Pedro Pascal tease big surprises in The Mandalorian Season 3 at CCXP.
I mean, based on the first 2 seasons, that makes tons of sense, you know?
It does. I'm just concerned. I'm just concerned because I don't want the show. Listen, I thought Season 2 was really good. I know a lot of people think it's too heavy on the cameos, and yeah, it might be. But I still think it was really, really good. Really good.
Yeah.
So I don't want to take away from that, but also I don't want them to see, oh, people reacted really well to these cameos. We need more of that. That's not necessarily what I want. So it's just like, okay, Ahsoka's in theory coming out next year, right? If we're going at like production schedules and like normal.
Yeah, I think it should be. It'll probably be like around when Andor came out this year, I would imagine.
So maybe Thrawn. Maybe Thrawn is in Mando Season 3. And
again, wouldn't surprise me a bit.
No, I wouldn't.
Especially if they're going to do like, kind of do the handoff like they did with Book of Boba Fett in Season 2 of Mando. It would make a lot of sense to do some kind of handoff episode or post-credit scene or something.
Yeah, and honestly, I was very up in arms about, Book of Boba Fett losing 2 episodes to The Mandalorian and then, just The Mandalorian, basically. But as I've sat with it more and, thought about it more, I've kind of, if they do end up doing the heavily intertwining stories where literally we have episodes of other shows within seasons of shows, that's going to retroactively, I think, make me feel a lot better about it, especially if Boba Fett continues to show up and be a character going forward.
Yeah, and I think there was at least that they showed some kind of extended trailer at I think it was Comic-Con in Brazil, I think is what was going on this last weekend. That's why we had a bunch of trailers for movies and stuff. And I think they showed something for Mandalorian there. And I think there was at least one report that said Boba Fett was in the trailer.
I saw this.
They showed
one person on Twitter said that.
Yeah, exactly. It's like so not confirmed, but probably it's like it feels like there's a decent chance that Boba Fett will be in it, especially based on where we left off with that in that season. Right.
Like, I think Boba especially is going to feel some sort of allegiance to Din now because Din was such a bro.
Like, we're creating this little mini universe of characters for them to all, be interacting with and intersecting with as it makes sense. And, hopefully they find a better balance for it in the future. But,
Yeah, and it's hard, too, because it's like...
The problem isn't really that Mando shows up and, gets a big focus on it. It's that it felt like Boba's story got... Like, there was a story there, and it suddenly kind of just drops.
Right. It wasn't like suddenly we're cutting between Boba and Mando. It is literally the return of the Mandalorian, and it's all about him.
Yeah, there's literally 2 episodes in a row where Boba Fett has 0 dialogue and like a minute of screen time.
Now, and this is one of those things, though. It's like, again, I'm kind of playing devil's advocate here. They were clear about that. They've been clear about this whole build up to some sort of finale, within these crossovers and this subset of their television shows were gonna be part of a thing, part of a Marvel style thing. So really, I don't want to say I feel dumb for getting mad, because I don't, because I do feel like it was really heavy handed still. And I still, have some bitterness towards it. But at the end of the day, it's like, they did tell us what they were going to do. So, and especially
it just didn't feel as cohesive as it could have been.
No.
But it is one of those things, like you said, that retroactively they can make it better.
Yes.
Because Boba's story, I feel like it's still there. Like all the pieces are still there. They just need to pick them back up and do something more with them because there's still some gaps there that I think could be fleshed out and make the whole thing feel less, half baked in some ways.
Yeah, and I don't know where they want to do that, because there were a lot of kind of loose ends, gaps, stuff from Boba Fett season 1 that I'm like, oh yeah, season 2. Please give us a season 2. I'd love that. But now it's like, well, are they just going to tie it up in The Mandalorian? Is Boba Fett going to get 2 episodes in a season of The Mandalorian? Maybe. Will we have a complete 7-episode series of Book of Boba Fett by the end of this? I don't know.
Quite possibly.
So I'm kind of torn on that. I don't know what to make of it now that I've had close to a year to calm down and ruminated on it a little bit.
Yeah,
I feel
generally better. Jon Favreau wrote most of Book of Boba Fett too, didn't he?
I think he did. Yeah.
I was gonna look up the actual writing credits because that's another thing we got information wise. We know the writers for all of Mando season 3.
Yeah,
and Jon Favreau was either writing or co-writing every episode. What?
I'm kicking myself, man, because he is. I just pulled it up on again. Star Wars Newsnet. Shout out. What do you think episode 4 and 7 are going to be about?
Oh yeah, no kidding, right?
For those who don't know,
Ahsoka.
Those are being co-written by Dave Filoni. And all I want to say is, Dave, don't make yourself a stereotype. Don't turn yourself into a stereotype. The stereotype being Dave Filoni. So it's kind of weird. He's the only person that can be stereotyped.
Okay, so Book of Boba Fett, every episode was written by Jon Favreau, and then 6 is co-written by Dave Filoni. So it's exactly the same thing.
It's fine.
Then there's one episode of season 3 of Mando that's being co-written by Noah Clore.
Yeah, who now I'm not that familiar with writers, generally speaking.
No. It is sad to not see Rick Famuyiwa on the list.
Well, does he write or just direct?
I think he wrote and directed some.
Oh, that's criminal.
Mm-hmm.
That's criminal. He has had the best episodes.
I'm about to say, I'm not positive, but I'm pretty sure he wrote the penultimate episode last season. The Believer.
Yeah, he did. Or, sorry, I know he directed it. I don't know.
I know he directed it. I think he wrote it too. Yeah.
Oh, it was good.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god. It's so terrible when you search for Star Wars and see some of these headlines. Writers revealed for Mando Season 3, plus Boba Fett spotted in a new trailer. One person said that. One person said that. At least Star Wars Newsnet was, I think it was Star Wars Newsnet. It might be somebody else. I might be misquoting. But the site that I saw it from was like, hey, we haven't been able to verify this. One person said they saw it. So take that with a grain of salt. I'm like, hey, I respect that.
And with a whole bunch of Mandalorians showing up with different colored armor, it very easily could have been some other Mandalorian. But
and this other one from CBR.
Not good. Not
the Mandalorian Season 3 writing credits have fans expecting a major Star Wars Rebel cameo. Yeah, we're not idiots. It's going to be Ahsoka for sure, and probably Hera and Sabine. And that's cool. That's cool. Hera and Sabine, 100% here for that. That's cool.
Yeah.
I just am now, which I think lends even more credence to the big surprise at some point being Thrawn. For better or for worse,
because they have managed to, at least for now, kept if it has been cast already, it hasn't been announced, and there hasn't been any concrete information on it. There's been some people cast that we don't know who they're playing, but and I think there's been lots of reports they're probably going to get Lars Mikkelsen, right? They're probably going to get Lars Mikkelsen, but. As far as I know, we haven't had any kind of confirmation on that. No one's spotted him coming out of his trailer in blue makeup or anything.
They're so especially on Mandalorian. They are so tight-lipped, and obviously stuff does leak. I don't know the extent to which things have leaked. But like, I don't know. I can't remember. Did we know about Grogu beforehand? Did we know about?
No.
You know,
Well,
it's like
I think I've said it before. There was like 2 separate rumors for the
this is what it is.
Mandalorian.
Yeah.
That if you put them together, it's like, there it is. But people didn't put it together, and so
Right.
it didn't really come out. So,
Sure. So, yeah, I don't know. They're really good at running a tight ship around there. So just because we don't have casting doesn't mean a whole lot, you know.
No, it doesn't.
That said, the Ahsoka thing, I don't know how well kept of a secret that was, but that was
Not very well.
I felt like that was out
Not
there
very well.
pretty fast. Hey, that's what happens whenever you accept a fan cast. Whatever. I'm not gonna get into that. I just feel like we need to be separated from creators. Generally speaking, I think things were better that way. Not always, not for everything, but I don't know. In terms of the products they create, maybe. So, yeah, I didn't mean to turn this into a Mando Season 3 speculation cast.
Like I said, it's in the news. It's all fine.
Sure. But
and it's not very far away.
Yeah, and then we talked about Jedi Survivor. Did we mention that? Or did we do that
I think we got mentioned. It might have been before we actually started recording.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, Jedi Survivor. They're doing an official like trailer reveal and everything at the Game Awards on Thursday, I think.
Yeah, something.
It's the 8th.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it's unverified at this point, but the Steam page for it apparently got posted early, and there's a release date for March 15th, which probably is correct. But unverifiable at this point.
Sure. That's crazy.
But also with that Steam page, there was like the pre-order bonuses for the deluxe editions. I don't know if you saw this.
No, I haven't seen this at all.
You want me to talk about it? I mean, it's not like spoilery or anything.
Oh, sure. I mean, if
it's like cosmetic stuff. It's like bonus cosmetics.
Probably legit, yeah.
Yeah. So it's basically like character skins. So there's a Han Solo, a Luke, and an Obi-Wan like styled costumes. Like the Han is like him with the vest and the white, and then the BD has like it's like a green and yellow cosmetics. That's rugged, and a DL-44 blaster. And then there's the Luke one is Rebel Hero cosmetic, and he's got the yellow jacket.
Yes.
And then BD has the R2 decals.
Oh my god.
And then there's an Obi-Wan one that has it's kind of like the Mythos Obi-Wan with the goggles and
okay. Cool.
And it's his episode 1 lightsaber as well, which is interesting.
I do love how that statue keeps getting love.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's very clear a lot of creators really liked that thing.
Yeah, people came into that. It's one of those, I don't know what specific thing came first. I think there was a statue was the very first bit of that. Because there's a statue, and then there's like a full action figure, then it was also in the comic, and then now it's been in the TV show, so it showed up all over the place. Yeah, so some cool cosmetic stuff. It's not just ponchos this time, which is nice to see.
It is.
There's some more variety with that.
I think
there better be at least one poncho though. I'll be kind of mad if there's not.
I think they're really gonna kind of blow the roof off of this one. I think the first game was really good, and I think they've probably learned a lot from the first game. I think this one's gonna just be so sick.
And it's interesting that there's a blaster with a couple of these. And the action figure also has a blaster with him, so I'm wondering how that's going to integrate into the gameplay. I think Al-Katarn style.
My brother's been playing through those games. He got tripped up by the numbering convention, which I thought was really funny because he's like, yeah, I played Jedi Academy, but I really felt like I was missing something, and I'm like. You were an entire game. Mm-hmm. What's so hard to follow? Dark Forces 2, Jedi Knight 2, Jedi Outcast, Jedi Knight, Jedi Academy. What's hard about that? It's very straightforward.
It makes so much sense.
It's very straightforward. Oh god. Tom talking about, I don't know. I had to look away from the chat for a little bit because I was on different tabs. I just had come back to a message from Tom saying they've been cutting down on his pre-production time by filming all his appearances in the park and digitally removing the customers. Don't know what that's about. Take it as you will. I don't think it's what's happening, but at the same time, I have fear.
I think he's talking about because they have Mando at the Disney parks now as like a walk around characters. they're filming it there, then just cutting out all the people.
Well, Cole,
it's pretty funny.
I'm not gonna talk again about the perils of making a theme park canon, but
Yeah.
I'll leave it at that. That's all I need to say on that. Jesus, I don't know.
Hey, as long as I get a scene with Mando and Hondo, I'll be okay with it.
That would be funny. I will say I do see Tom saying in all caps Hondo duology in reference to those 2 Dave Filoni episodes.
It is kind of surprising that Hondo hasn't showed up in Mandalorian yet.
It is
because of how much of a Dave Filoni character he is and how much he's shown up everywhere.
Yeah, you know what? No, I'm not even going to say that because I think you're right. I think he doesn't take himself so seriously. Like, I think he's just like, oh yeah, I like this character. I'm going to throw him in there. Like, I think that's all it is.
Well, especially because, again, he's a character because of the theme park. We know he exists up to that point and is still doing the same stuff. Maybe he's mad because he's not the one that did it.
Right.
And that's why he's begrudging about it.
Ooh, but just got flashbacks to Smugglers Run, Rise of the Resistance, and all the rides. Makes me want to go back. Maybe it's just because it was May in Southern California and now it's December in Southern Indiana. And I've had enough of that. But is that all the news? Jedi Survivor. Hopefully, next time we come back, we'll have a lot more to talk about regarding that.
Yeah, we'll obviously at least have a trailer, so that'll be nice.
I'm super.
And if it's really coming out in March, they're probably gonna show a bunch.
Yeah,
and it'll be a media blitz from here to then. We got the Battle Scars novel.
Oh yeah,
cover. I forgot about that.
Right. Looks fun.
I think it's coming out around the same time.
Okay. I wouldn't be shocked. It says literally on the front. It says leading up to Jedi Survivor or something in the time leading up to. So that'll be cool. It's just I don't know. I feel like I'm behind on Star Wars books. I think Darth Bane had done a little to put me behind. And then there's that time I spent reading Wheel of Time for one reason or another. And comics is what it is. Comics have put me behind on books because I am just so far behind. I did catch up with Afra first, of course. It's good. It's getting weird. It's been weird, but I think it's fun. The other thing I don't love is, obviously stories do this. It cuts away to another storyline that I'm far less interested in during a very kind of climactic part of the main story. So I'm like, oh my God. It's like it's a book, right? It's like when a book does that for a chapter and you're like, oh my God, this is terrible. But it's half of a comic book that you waited 2 months to get.
Yeah, it feels way more egregious in a comic
it feels worse.
It's like, a large percentage of the book.
Exactly. It's not bad. It's definitely not bad, but obviously it's like I'm here for Afra, and she's only, even when we're focusing on Afra, she's only kind of here. But that's all I'm gonna say about that comic. High Republic is good. I'm really into the first 2 issues of Phase 2. I talked about that a little bit. I'm reading Darth Vader right now. I've only read 2 issues of that, I think. Trying to get back into it. Trying to remember everything that's going on. There's just a lot happening. I actually read the Mandalorian adaptation of season 1. It's pretty good. I definitely don't regret picking it up. I'm glad I have it. It's a cool little thing. They're kind of beefy for comics too, so it doesn't feel like it's a total, I don't know. It's fun. Anyway, if there's no news, before we get into our random article, I'm going to try to read an email. I say try. I'm going to successfully read an email. I believe we haven't.
Hey, don't promise anything you can't fulfill.
Yes.
Maybe you look at it, you're like, oh, I can't read this. Dang it.
No, I can. I was gonna say maybe I've read this already. I've definitely not said the words "turmoil has engulfed the Galactic Republic" on this podcast, at least in the last 2 years. However, our friend Torch decided he was going to make me say that. This email reads: "Turmoil has engulfed the Galactic Republic." And it continues. "I recently acquired a copy of the Dark Forces novellas, so I read them this week. I've only played the Jedi Knight games, so I wasn't quite as familiar with the stories from the first 2 games. The novellas are decent and seem to give quite a bit more content than just retelling the games." That's relevant because we talked about that. Was that last week? Was that 2 weeks ago? Or 2 episodes ago? Because we have an update on the Bouncers page too, courtesy of
Right.
our buddy
I feel like that may
Robert.
have been 2 episodes ago.
2 episodes ago, but it was like the Dark Forces novellas. I feel like were relevant at one point in the recent future because we talked about those. And it continues. "I had one of the biggest musical performances of my life, so I missed the stream this week. But I thought it was funny that Dark Forces Jedi Knight got brought up at the same time I was reading it. Well, I hope your performance went well. How dare you miss the stream? But anyway, on Death Troopers. So Mogo, I hope you're listening. On Death Troopers, I listened to the audiobook 4 to 5 years ago and didn't really love it. The zombie gimmick is used somewhat effectively, but it's kind of a spoiler. Can I spoil it? Oh, I don't know. I'm not going to say what it is.
The inclusion of Redacted is...
The inclusion of Redacted, who already has a very complicated chronology at this point in time, is maddening.
Yep, that's fair.
That's also Torch's problem with shadow games. I would like to revisit the book sometime now that I've gotten into some of the Resident Evil games. Okay. On Red Harvest, I read that sometime this year and had quite low expectations, but I was pleasantly surprised. There are some good references to the wider universe, and I really liked some of the characters. All this to say, these should definitely be Halloween specials. Last but not least, the Andor finale was incredible, and I can't wait for more high-quality Star Wars TV. May the Force be with you, Torch. May the Force be with you, Torch. Thank you for that email. I forgot that we talked about Death Troopers. I just got, it just kind of brought me back around on all the things we've talked about over the last month. I would 100%. I've been kind of hard on Death Troopers. I would 100% watch the Halloween special, though, even if it was disgusting, which I imagine it would be. Mogo is
probably is the only big spoiler for Death Troopers.
I was gonna say Mogo knows what the spoiler is, despite having only read half of the book very pointedly. I
don't even remember how far into the book that happens. I feel like it's not that far, but I might be wrong. It's been a long time.
I want to say it's like halfway or something. Tom, I'm not gonna repeat it, but I do want to say I see your comment about what the YouTube algorithm wants to play after this podcast. I have seen some of these things myself. It's baffling. It makes me feel like I need some tags or something. But yeah, thank you for the email, Torch. I love it when our listeners weigh in on the things that we've talked about. Because it makes me feel like people are paying attention. Stream's gonna get weird here for a minute. How can I'm trying to, I need to pop out the stream. Here we go. I'm like, how can I go to Discord? Oh God, I'm gonna break everything. Yep, I've popped out the player to another window. Hang tight, everybody. I'm trying to go find our,
going on a ride.
We're going on a bit of a ride. I'm trying to find, there we go. We're back.
Take a look. It's in a book.
Trying to go to my other Discord. Of course, now the stream is paused. This is just terrible. Everything is terrible. And I've wasted so much time talking about this on the podcast. Basically, to paraphrase, go over it real quick. We talked about bouncers last time we recorded, which are they're in this book. I don't have to explain what they are.
Yeah, but we'll talk about them more later today.
I'm going to directly quote Robert here, so I'm hoping that he does not mind. Robert is, of course, Wikipedia admin, friend of the show, best friend of Cole, friend of me, I will even say. I've slept on his air mattress. I'm just going to quote this directly. In regards to bouncers, first pictured kind of tag maybe is what you could describe it as on Wikipedia, like the demarcation. The first picture demarcation is actually supposed to only be used for sources, not appearances, and also appears to just be inaccurate in this case anyway. So I've removed it from the article. That is, of course, because we talked at some length about how these are actually, the bouncers were depicted as being first pictured in one place, but they actually show up in the Dark Forces novella, the Jedi Knight novella, which came first. So I feel bad I didn't check the talk page. I usually do. Robert then goes on to say, it actually appears
busting inaccurate sources are our specialty.
They are. But somebody said, it actually appears someone brought this up 8 years ago and no one noticed.
Nobody noticed.
Which is kind of a bummer. But, yeah, OSW to the rescue. Indeed. I love it when we get to do stuff like that. Because obviously, I love it. I can just go in and fix stuff, right? I can just do that. But I like it better when Robert does it because I know it's being done right. And I know no one's going to be like, oh, this is
like, we're questioning, like, I don't think this is right. And then he's like, yeah, you're right.
Thanks for pointing it out. Not right.
I will correct this with extreme prejudice.
But so yeah. Speaking of Wikipedia, I have what will undoubtedly be a pretty quick article this week. This article is entitled Tregan? Tregan? Tregan. Sorry, I can't spell. Tregan was the first of Belgoroth's 2 moons. Tregan, like Tyrrell, was a barren ball of rock which was used for target practice by Imperial gunnery officers during the height of the New Order. This article is a stub about a moon. This is sourced from one place, Coruscant, and the Core Worlds, which is Wizards of the Coast. Aha! Yes, Wizards of the Coast.
Not
RPG.
Surprising.
Yeah, not surprising at all. Belgoroth, I guess, is a Core World. Don't know.
Yeah, I looked up Belgoroth just to see if it was anything. It only has one appearance in A Trooper's Tale from Star Wars: The Clone Wars comic UK.
Cool. That's just like
deep cuts.
It was created by author John Terra for the book Coruscant and the Core Worlds. So it comes specifically from that. I look, I know there's no way. I wish we could cover RPG supplements and essential guides on this podcast so badly. Because there's just nothing like the RPG supplements. Obviously, there is stuff that's like them. Like they're still making them. But those essential guides, I'm not going to talk at length about them. I feel like I'm singing their praises constantly, so I'll spare you all this time. But there's nothing quite like them anymore, and I don't think we'll ever get anything quite like them again. And I think they are relics to be cherished. That's all I'm going to
They
say.
are great.
They are. So, from what I learned from this segment, we're going to have to figure out a way to do the entirety of Death Troopers as a Halloween episode. And Belgoroth has 2 moons. So I think with those important nuggets of wisdom imparted to us, is it time to finally put an end to Darth Bane and his shenanigans?
I guess we can do that if we want to.
Oh, Cole's assuming the position. Cole has turned 90 degrees to the right. Tom, that's a diabolical idea. Essential Guides would make a good video exclusive content to put behind a paywall. I'm torn between saying, what's the matter with you? And you're right.
Diabolical. I will do this.
Diabolical. I'm not saying whether that's a good or a bad thing. Just, that's a thing. That is a thing. But I don't know. I'm always looking for something to do with them. Can you see mine? Yeah, where are they? Yeah, you kind of can. Kind of right in there. Right in there. I do think...
Yeah, I don't think mine are visible. Mine are, like, down there.
I think it'd be fun sometime, now that we have a video component, I think it'd be fun to go through, maybe once, maybe as, like, a special episode, like, around the holidays, kind of an interlude type thing. Grab some books from our bookshelves that we like. Kind of celebrate the physical aspect of our collections. And If that's something you'd be interested in, you could let us know.
Mm-hmm.
You can email us at obroaskywalkers@gmail.com or tweet at us, Obroa-Skai on Twitter, for as long as that remains.
Yeah, I've definitely got something cool I'm planning to show off on our next interlude episode.
See,
it was a birthday gift that I need to do some research on before I talk about it, but I'm planning to do that.
That's crazy. Now I'm like dying to know what this is.
Yeah.
I want to know so badly.
It's pretty wild.
Because I know we've talked about stuff in the past, but like obviously a lot of it is just like, yeah, sure, that's, Shadows of the Empire or whatever. Or no, it's Courtship of Princess Leia that I pointed at. But it's like, yeah, whatever. Okay, we've seen that. But I know we both have some, maybe not like super rare stuff, but like more unique things. Like I've got some more unique things that I would definitely love to talk about that aren't, that are old or not quite, just not really easily accessible anymore. But so something to look forward to at some point, maybe in the future. But Cole has assumed the position, as I said. So I do believe it is time to finish up these few short chapters. It's not a very long reading, was it?
It's not very long. It's not very long.
Yeah.
And it was even shorter for you because you read the 28 last time. And then you got punished to having to wait an extra week. And
Yep. And I remembered what happened in 28 by the time I got around to reading. But, of course,
it was fine.
It's been 2 weeks now, I think, since I read. Oh, time is a flat circle. I don't remember anything anymore.
And honestly, like, I think my notes are shorter this week than normal even, so, because
it's
a lot of what happens is, like, pretty broad strokes.
Yeah, it almost feels like Drew Karpyshyn was trying to wrap the book up, doesn't it?
Yeah, it kind of feels that way.
Yeah, things
almost feels like they were trying to wrap it up, and that's what they did.
Things just kind of happen, and it's done. But anyway, we'll get to that.
Yep. So, chapter 28, we left off. Bane was about to perform some kind of Sith ritual to flush the Jedi out of their hiding.
A Sithual?
In the forest.
A Sithual? Is that anything?
If you want to say that. If you want to say it like that, that's fine. I don't know if I'm going to repeat it. They've gathered.
At first you said, I heard you say, if you want to say that, that's fine. And like that felt particularly like disdainful, because it's not, if you want to say it like that, that's fine. It was, if you want to say that, that's fine, as though like I'm not saying Sith ritual, I'm simply saying this word. Anyway, sorry, I'm interrupting. There goes my B-sized attention span again, to quote our most critical iTunes review.
Oh boy.
Anyway,
oh boy.
Yes, Sith ritual. That's what he's doing.
Yeah, so Bane has gathered all the Sith Lords onto this plateau, and they're all just like funneling the dark side into him, and he's summoning a storm that's gonna, burn the forest down and drive all the Jedi out. Pretty intense. And basically, as soon as this starts happening, Lord Hoth and the other Jedi like feel something bad happening, and he just comes out, sees what's happening, and oh no, we gotta run.
I want to believe that since Drew Karpyshyn, obviously, like, it makes sense that Bane would go to Ambria. Like, Ambria is a very, it's a dark side planet for the most part, or was historically. At one point during Dark Empire 2, maybe it's just Dark Empire 1. I can't remember exactly. Palpatine mentions concert conjuring storms with the dark side, and I want to believe that Drew Karpyshyn was mining from both of these like early Star Wars comics.
That makes sense.
That's how Bane, and like obviously it's a logical progression that a Sith could create a storm of lightning, with the Force. But yeah, I don't know.
It's a pretty logical extension from Palpatine's Sith lightning and in Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, I choose to believe.
Like, well, lightning comes from storms, so
Sith
whatever.
Storm, yeah, sure, it's all there.
Yeah. So, storm just like lightning goes everywhere. Forest is burning down. Jedi running for their lives. It's a great time to be a Sith. It's generally what things look like.
Yeah.
Of course, right in the middle of all this, Bane, he's bathed in power, destroying all this, and he's like, yeah, this is awesome. And then suddenly it gets cut off, and Lord Khan is like, yeah, the Jedi are on the run, let's go kill them. And Bane's like, you idiot. We could have just let the storm kill them, and it would have been fine. But no, you've got to be your, petty ground general. Do your thing. And as the all the Sith are rallying. Githany's like, "Yeah, Vane, let's go get him." He's like, "Don't you understand? This is exactly what the problem is." But she's too caught up in it, and he's like, "Well,
so much for that.
She's not the one."
Nope, she's not. And
so he gives her up.
It almost would have felt too easy if it was Githany, I think. But
yeah, agreed.
I don't know how much we were really supposed to believe it was her. It almost seemed like we knew it wasn't going to be, but Bane wanted to believe it was her because he still thought she was hot.
And I think it's a reasonable assumption to be thinking that someone we've already met is going to be the person, and it ends up not being the case, which I think is a little bit weird. Is a little bit weird to me when we get there. We'll probably talk about that more.
It is definitely jarring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, so he's like writes Githany off like, well, it's not her, so I don't think anyone here is going to be worthy of anything. So he flies off back to the Sith camp to take care of his next step of the plan, but is followed by Cordus, who was like, "Hey, I'll join you. I'll join you in taking over the Brotherhood." Khan's clearly weak, and Bane's like, "You fool! You just don't understand. Why would I have any need for you? You're like one of the worst ones."
Well, it's just funny to me that they're so locked in their own way of thinking that Githany's like, "Yeah, let's get him. Let's take over the Brotherhood." Cordus is like, "Yeah, we're gonna take over the Brotherhood." And Bane's like, "No, you will all be dead. Ideally, the
Brotherhood must die.
You all have to die." Exactly. And it's just,
if you can't accept that, you're gonna die with them.
I don't know.
So, do love for like a moment when Cordus forced like, "Hey, can I join you?" He's like, "Is he really the one?" It's like, is it possible? So, no.
Bane, you're starting to look desperate. If you're looking at him, you're desperate. You'll find somebody.
Well, even he's like, he's like, it can't be. But also, he's here, so maybe there's a reason. But no, he's not the one. And Bane's like, just like, "Yeah, you're pathetic. You're just like the worst of them," and just crushes the life out of him with the Force. Doesn't even grant him a warrior's death, which is what he wants. He's like, "At least let me die with honor." He's like, "There's no honor in death."
Bane is just so, like, he is obviously, he has given up on all pretense. He is just over it. Like, he knows he's in the game. If anyone he interacts with on a one-to-one basis alone, it's like, you are either my apprentice or you're die.
Dead.
That's it. That's literally the only options here.
Yep. It's not good. So Cordus off the table, another Sith down, and then he goes to Khan's comms equipment and contacts the Sith fleet up above, and they're just used to taking orders from any of the Sith, basically. So they're like, "Okay,
sure.
We'll do whatever you say, whatever." And he orders them to attack the Jedi, which opens up the blockade, which is what they've been doing this whole time. It's been keeping Farfalla's forces from joining the Army of Light. So,
yeah, still can't quite get over he's named after pasta. I don't like it, but whatever. Darko Makan, you crazy person. But I digress.
But speaking of the Army of Light, they're not looking so hot. They're obviously, got pushed out of the forest by the fires, and then they're being ambushed by the Sith. And not Farfalla, Hoth is basically like resigns, like, "Well, this looks like this is the end, but we're gonna fight to the last man." Basically decides like this is it. This is where it's all gonna happen. Could be worse, I guess.
Sure.
But thankfully, in the middle of all this attack, Bane has opened up the blockade, and so here come Farfalla's reinforcements, save the day, turning the tide, and Khan and his forces are pushed back, and he is furious.
I love it. Because Khan is one of those characters that doesn't really have... He doesn't have anything likable about him. Like in
Not really.
I think it's like in Return of the Jedi. Obviously, it's terrible whenever the Star Destroyers come out of hyperspace. It's a trap. Palpatine is like, when Palpatine mocks Luke, it's like, you're kind of like, ooh, that's chillingly, deliciously evil, right? Like, he sells it. Khan is just a bad dude and not likable or fun while he's doing it. So I'm just like, I'm glad that you're mad. Die mad, dude. I like this. You suck. You suck. You're like not the biggest, baddest dude here. Therefore, I don't care about you. You are nothing.
Nope. Second fiddle.
Yeah. You can't.
You're the guy that everyone's following, and that's the only reason you're dangerous.
Right. And if all your followers are dead,
not very dangerous, are you?
No. No.
All right. So chapter 29. Hoth is genuinely happy to see Farfalla for the first time ever in his life. And he's like, not even like sarcastic. He's like genuinely like hugs him when he sees him. He's like, oh, so happy that you were here at all. So things are turned around a little bit. It's kind of nice. It's sweet.
It's funny because these two are, are supposedly like our antagonists in this book, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
basically,
I'm still like, oh yeah, this is nice because these two were kind of, like Farfalla being the more grounded one, maybe. Oddly enough, he was. I don't know. It was nice. It was sad knowing what's about to happen.
It's sad knowing what's
reunion
going to happen here, but like you have this moment of actual connection. It's things are looking up. Things are looking up for the Jedi, and despite this being a Sith book, you kind of have to root for the Jedi.
Yeah, you do.
But they're both a bit confused about what's going on because they're like, I don't know why the Sith attacked like they did, because it opened up and they were literally in the moments of like about to crush us, and they suddenly
stopped.
And they're like, well, I guess the just infighting is beginning amongst the Sith, so they're fighting each other. And they're like, yeah, that is kind of right. It's not the way they're thinking, but it is kind of right.
It's not so much infighting as in assassination. Yeah, like in surgical strike.
It's like a saboteur, he's planted a bomb within the camp. And
exactly. And is going to be far away when it goes off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, speaking of Khan, he returns to camp absolutely furious about what's happened because, they were on the cusp of victory. And he returns to his tent and there's Bane, and Bane just admits immediately what he did. And Khan's like, I don't even know what to do. This guy is just sitting here admitting what he's done, that he's betrayed us, and I'm not strong enough to fight him. He's like, he's more powerful than me.
Yeah, so it's funny. It's not even like gobsmacked. Like, I don't know what to do. It is, I know what I want to do, but I can't do it.
And he believes, like the other Sith have, come to assume that Bane's just there to take over.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, I'm not going to stand by and let you do this. And he starts talking to Bane, and Bane's telling him, like the key to being the Jedi is the thought bomb. We'll wipe them out all at once. And the whole thing, Bane's just manipulating him so hard.
Yeah.
Like
and he just wants to eat it up.
He just so believes in himself and his own, believes his own stuff, that he believes he's turning Bane. He's like, it's like, no, you have to stay here. We'll go and destroy the Jedi with the thought bomb. And Bane's like, yes, of course, Master.
Oh, you idiot. You walked right into it.
Yep, just walked right into it yourself.
Well, see,
just sealed your own fate.
One thing that I think has been set up well is Khan's desperation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and he had, like, we saw Githany seeing him at wit's end, like losing it. Then he has to put it back on. That happens multiple times.
Yeah, you see the veil drop and then come back up. And
exactly.
Several times.
And so that's being set up. And then just the fact that he is just, like, this is where he's at his most vulnerable because he just had victory ripped away from him.
Mm-hmm.
That he is just so willing to believe that, like, you know what? Bane is on our side. He just wants to believe that so badly. But hope is not of the dark side. You should assume the worst in people.
Nope. So Khan just immediately leaves Bane there, goes and tells the other Sith what they're going to do. And Bane's like, yep, all according to plan. Good job, guys. We're going to
go do that. It's going to be great.
You're going to go into these caves and draw the Jedi in, do the thought bomb, and you're all going to die. And it's going to be perfect. So things are looking just perfect for Bane and his plans. The Brotherhood, not so hot.
Yeah, I wish the Thought Bomb had a better name.
Yeah, it's one of those things that... Does this come from does the thought bomb itself come from the Jedi vs. Sith comic, or is that?
Oh, it might.
That's what I was wondering. I
will.
feel like Carpathian would have a better, come up with a better name than that, unless it was something that pre-existed.
There is art of it, but it's not from the comic. Wait, no, it is from the comic. Oh. Thought Bomb goes all the way back to Dark Forces Jedi Knight, the novella.
Oh, it's another one of those. Interesting. Man, that's cool. That's really cool.
These three seemingly like disparate.
It's amazing how connected they are.
It's just I can't even. I don't know.
That really goes all the way back to the Dark Forces. So that's from the 90s.
Yes.
Man.
First appearance in flashbacks. Kyle Katarn has a Force vision and sees it. Dang. Well, that's fun. I don't know. This is what I was like back at the beginning.
I give it more leeway because it's older.
Yeah, I do too. Especially since it was like just a flashback, right? Like, and kind of explains the creation. Well, I will say it's not too much of
like Outbound Flight. It's an offhand thing. It was never meant to be explored deeper.
And they were like, "Go for it, Zahn." And he's like, "Oh."
I would have given it a better name if I had known.
Exactly. But, well, I'll talk about it a little more in a bit.
Yeah, it's interesting. That like I said, that makes me think it's a little bit better, just because it's
it's old.
It's 10 years older than it appears to be.
Right. Hard to agree.
Yep. All right. So Farfalla and his scouts see all the Sith, going toward these caves where they're going to be going, and Farfalla's like, well, wonder what's going on with that, but reports it to Hoth, and Hoth's like, well, we've got to go in after it and tell them and, cut them off. We can't let whatever they're planning to do. Better to just spring the trap as soon as we can. Hopefully they won't have time to do whatever it is they're doing.
Is that not hard to read? Isn't it? It's hard because you want to be like, no, just leave. Just let them do their stupid little ritual in the cave, and just go.
It's like yes, but no, because even it's a little bit later, I think the same thing. I'm like, and they kind of explain why that would be a bad idea.
Yeah.
But, at the same time, you're like, yeah, just let them go do their thing. It'll be fine.
Just go. It's not going to hurt anything. They're only going to kill themselves. Just because you don't, I don't know. It's just because you don't want, I don't know. Me, anyway, I don't want the Jedi to die. That's what it comes down to. Even if Hoth is, because it feels like he's kind of found his way. He's found his way back by the end of this.
He's turned the corner.
Yes. Yeah, so it's like, it's not like he's going to die in the depths of his despair, which would be sad, but it doesn't make you want him to live necessarily. I feel like now I want him to live because he's come back.
Yeah, now it's like, oh, now he's on the rise again. He could be a good force for good going forward, and it's not meant to be.
He was not, dear reader. He was not.
So, chapter 30, Khan gathers all the Sith deep in these caves, in this big cavern, and gathers them all around him, starts the ritual, starts chanting, doing their thing. And Githany, she's followed them all down here, but then like as they're down there, she's like, no, this is not good. This is bad. She sees the veil completely gone. He's like, I've got to get out of here. But she's like caught in the press of all the Sith down there. And Khan even like grabs her hand. He's like, join me. We'll do this together. And she's kind of just caught up in the press of it all. It's like, oh no.
I will say, it's pretty creepy. It's the
way
that
creepy.
Khan is described as being like, gaunt and like so gone to this thing. It's like, yeah, this is unsettling. This is really unnerving. So it was very effective in that regard, I think.
And surprisingly, Kopex is also breaks free. He's like sees the writing on the wall. Is like, no, I don't want any part of this. But he's a more grounded person. He's like, I know there's no getting away from this thing, but I'd much rather just die in combat than be part of this thought bomb and get killed by it. So he goes up to the cave entrances to join just like the regular troops, and he's just gonna fight the Jedi until he dies. So he's like, yeah, I'll just die some kind of honorable death, not get taken out by this whatever.
Oh, Cole,
this thought bomb.
I hear there's no honor in death. Is that true?
There's honor and death if you believe there is.
Sure.
It's all about personal belief. You know,
It
he
is
believes
about-
he'll die honorably. That's fair enough.
Sure. Even though objectively it doesn't really mean much. Especially since you're a bad dude anyway. No one's going to remember you fondly. You know?
It's true. It's true.
The Sith will be happy you're out of the way, and the Jedi will be like, good riddance. So, I don't know.
It's true. It's true. All right.
Makes me wonder if a Sith
I actually
can
skipped a page.
Oh, did you?
Well, I skipped a page in my notes, so it was just a blank page. I was like, what did I do?
Oh, okay, so you didn't skip a page of notes. You skipped a page.
I skipped a whole page. I was like, oh. That was weird.
That
Trip
would
me out.
I would drive me insane.
Well, I'm just going to rip it out after we get done.
I was going to say, like, this page cannot stay.
Nope. It's going to go away. It's going to go away. So, the Sith continue their chant, and it's like, it seems like the light gets sucked out of the place. It starts getting colder. They're all just, like, raising their hands, and there's this indistinct, like, energy you can see, feel, whatever. It's very strange.
It's really funny. The art, it's just like this kind of, or the original art from the flashback in the Jedi Knight novella is like, it's an inverted teardrop shape that is reflective and chrome.
Interesting.
And that is kind of the shape it has retained through all of its depictions, but it looks a little different. I will say there's I'm assuming this is from the featured image, I believe is from the new Essential Chronology. It's got a very specific art style. Or no, it's Jedi vs. Sith, the Essential Guide of the Force. Not a huge fan of that depiction of it. The art's fine. It just is like, it's not what I would imagine the thought bomb to look like at all.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I see what you mean.
yeah, it's like, it's not bad. Like it looks, it's well done art, and I really like the style of that.
How do you artistically render a psychic force bomb? I don't know. Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I guess I'm not one to talk. I couldn't do any better.
Yeah, actually, I have no idea what I would do with that. So whatever. Yeah, so that's all happening. It's getting worse and worse, and Gethany finally manages to break free and start making her escape. She finds like a side tunnel and just goes, hoping she can get far enough away. As they chant on and on and on.
Yeah, yeah.
And back out at the entrance, the Jedi have taken over the entrance already because most of the Sith troops just surrendered because they're like, these guys are crazy.
Yeah,
we don't want any part of this. And they know the Jedi are humane people that won't just, kill their prisoners. But amongst all these is Kopex, who is pretty mortally injured already, but he doesn't want to surrender, obviously. But he's like, hey, if you'll give me an honorable death in combat, I'll give you a warning about what's going on down there. And Farfalla's like, all right. And he tells about the thought bomb, and then they have a brief duel, which apparently was a pretty good duel, even if it was pretty short.
Yeah.
Because Kopex is a good fighter.
Yep.
So he gets the death he wants, and Farfalla gets to learn what's going on, and he rushes off to tell Hoth about it, because he's like, oh god, what have we done?
Everyone leave. Get out now.
Yeah. Chapter 31. Hoth arrives and sees that the battle's basically over already, and he's like, oh, great. But then Farfalla comes up and is like, it's way worse than we thought, than we could have imagined. Tells them about the thought bomb, and they're like, well, we have to end it here. Is basically Hoth's idea. Is like, if we all just ran away, they'd just stop and they'd do it somewhere else.
Yeah.
Which would be worse. So Rusan's already basically unpopulated, so it's better just to contain it here. So Hoth has to go down and fight it, like be there personally, because that's the only way Khan will actually go through with it. And there also has to be enough Jedi that they think it's everybody, or they think that they couldn't just fight their way out.
And this is something that obviously, like, it's dealt with. It's got some feeling to it. It's definitely spelled out. But I don't know. It just felt like this all happened so fast, and I feel like you really could have had, not that we've had a ton of time spent with these characters and like gotten a real kind of emotional connection to them, but I felt like that could have been a really good emotional beat is if we had spent maybe a little more time with them, and then it's like, oh well, they do have to kind of make this. There's this kind of this theme of honor and death where it's like, yeah, if you were dying purely honorably in combat for the sake of your own glory, well, that doesn't really feel very honorable. What feels more honorable is this very specific, like, we have to sacrifice ourselves. It's not just Hoth sacrificing himself to me. It is the fact that Hoth is making the decision, some of you have to go with me. You know, that can't be easy for him either. And I feel like we've gotten this narrative that's like, there is no honor in death, and like, it's funny when Bane tells people that there isn't, but then like, Hoth is kind of showing, no, there can be. There can be. Yeah. You are doing a good thing for the greater good. For the Sith, I don't think there is honor in death. I don't think there's any...
Yeah, I agree. I think that's kind of the point, is that, you know, like Bane's right. It's like, you know, if you're always just fighting for yourself, then there is no honor in death. You're just... You lost. You're just dead.
You lost.
You're just dead. But if you're fighting for something bigger, for the greater good, then there is some honor in death in how you go out.
Yeah.
And like Hoth and all the people all these Jedi that go with him, they have this horrible, like horrific death where they don't, you know, there's no peace for them or anything. But
yeah,
they're doing it to protect everyone else. So there is some honor. There is honor in that. And
well, there's something I want to say about this. It goes back more to other not Darth Bane Rusan things that I'll want to touch on a little bit later. And yeah, you say it out loud like that, and it's like, oh, obviously that's kind of the theme that he's going for here. I just didn't put it together until right now, so forgive me for talking about it like it was new information, everybody. That's on me.
It's all good. It's all good. Yeah, so Hoth basically like, hey, we need to have like 100 Jedi go in there. Enough that the Sith can't fight their way out, so they have to detonate the thought bomb, but not all of our people, obviously. Yeah. And so there's like, not going to ask anyone to do it. Obviously, it's just volunteers. And then basically everyone volunteers. So he has to choose, which makes it even worse.
Yeah.
And he ultimately decides to like basically choose all the ones that have been there the longest.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, it makes the most sense, I guess. The ones that have been fighting the longest and also probably been tainted by the war itself, like he has.
Say, yeah, the people that are going to have the hardest time going back.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, is obviously we're reading into it a little bit more, but
but he's like, and he also goes through his thought process. Is like he hates to do that to the ones that have been there for so long because they've already given so much. But at the same time, you don't want to sacrifice these people that just got here for no reason.
Yeah, exactly. They get here, and then you have to die now. Like it seems like truly an impossible choice. Not something I would ever want to have to do.
It's one of those ones that I'd probably want to put up to like a lottery or something just to like take it out of your hands.
Yep. Yeah.
But you know, it is what it is. They make the hard choice, and Farfalla takes everyone else, and then Hoth leads his 100 into the caves, where they confront Khan, and he makes an effort to try to stop him before he activates the thought bomb, but not fast enough. Claps his hands, and then they're all just disintegrated instantly.
Yeah. It's rough.
Yeah, they're all just gone. It's just over instantaneously. And then as it reverberates out, Githany gets caught in it as well. Almost makes it out of the caves to freedom, where she might have escaped, but caught up in it as well. Mummified, basically, and then disintegrates as she collapses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is... I don't know. The first time I read this, I definitely didn't think she was... I thought she would get away or something, and then be kind of a loose end or something.
Yeah, because besides Bane, she's probably the character we spent the most time with.
Oh, yeah, I would say for sure. Whatever. I'm just glad that Groshek didn't get caught up in it. I'm glad Groshek...
Yeah, thankfully, he's way away from here, and he's fine.
He's fine. Lived all the way up through the Rise of Skywalker, I think.
Yeah, probably.
We didn't hear his voice talking to Rey, so he's probably still around.
Exactly. That's how it works.
Hey, what I hear, even if you talk to Rey, it doesn't mean you're dead. So
it should mean that, but does it?
It means that for everyone except one. for some reason. So sorry. I like that movie. I promise. I really like that movie.
The surviving Jedi, they obviously feel all the death happen, and painful.
Yeah, bad.
But but not let their sacrifice be in vain. And they also, Farfalla orders like a sweep to happen, just like make sure no Sith got out of there, because we don't want us all to be in vain, because they gave up so much to wipe them out. And of course, they're not going to find Bane, because Bane's been too careful about all this.
Right.
But
Ironic.
None of the rest of them.
It's not in vain. It's in Bane.
Oh man, good one.
Thank you.
Man. And he also orders that any bouncers be shot on sight, because after the last Sith ritual, apparently it like drove all of them insane, and so they were doing terrible things. And that will have consequences that we'll see here.
Yeah. That's sad.
And
they seem so nice. They seem so nice.
Yeah, they do. It's like these poor creatures that are just, all friendly and nice and everything, and then they get tainted by the dark side, and suddenly they start causing problems and have to be killed. Have to be put down because they've been made mad. Very sad.
That offends my vegetarian sensibilities.
Yes, indeed. And Bane senses all this too. He's like, mission accomplished. Now there's only one thing left, is to find an apprentice. And that's the last chapter. But then we have an epilogue.
Hard left turn.
Hard left turn, yes, indeed. Where we get introduced to a whole new character right off the bat. And we meet Rain, and we get like her whole backstory dumped on us like really quickly, and also like you kind of have to just like put it all together yourself a little bit.
Would you believe me if I told you this is not a new character?
Oh, I believe you. Where did this originate? Is that also from Jedi vs.
Sith? Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I really question why they didn't put this more into the book.
You know what? We talked about this earlier. It's in a comic.
Mm-hmm.
That story happened in a comic. You don't get to know if you don't read the comic.
I guess it's one of those things. It's just it's really confusing to me, because it's like, because you even like you have some mentions here and there of like people already living on Rusan and the Jedi recruiting people to come fight and stuff. Like I feel like you could have sprinkled this in there throughout, just so you don't have to dump it all in this one like 4 pages.
Yeah, I know. I think that's just the nature of it, though. When you're trying to connect all of these things that were written, over the previous 10 years, and you're trying to reconcile all of these different things and make them all feel meaningful while telling your own original story within it. And I think it's a really admirable thing to try to do, and I like what this book does for all of these stories. But at the same time, it's hard. It's hard. This book already, this book doesn't feel like it has a ton of like wasted space.
No, it doesn't.
It's a fairly long book, for like for within the 300, 400 pages range. And it's like, but it's a fairly long book and doesn't feel like it has a lot of room to breathe. So I don't know where, I agree with you, but I don't know where it would have gone in the story. You could have probably sprinkled it in. I'm not trying to say that you're wrong.
Maybe because the book is divided into parts. Like there's like part 1, part 2, part 3. Interludes. Maybe you could have had like an interlude between each one of those, just as like setting up that one thing. But
something. But I guess also too, if you're trying to maintain the air that maybe Githany could be the apprentice, if you have this random character showing up, all that tension's gone. Because it's like, I would assume like, oh, at the very least, I would assume, oh, this character's important. And I might even just go ahead and make the jump to, oh, this is Bane's apprentice. We just need to figure out how she's going to get involved with him.
Yeah. And I think maybe the what you do there maybe is like introduce her and her cousins that she mentions.
Yeah.
Like as a group, and don't even focus on her to begin with.
Sure.
And I don't know. It's one of those things like, I could see a way to make you, play it out in a way that you don't see it coming necessarily, but It's hard to do,
And I
especially
also,
if you just introduce them as like part of the Jedi forces at some point.
right.
You know, it's just somebody that's there.
And it's like, I just see both sides. You were saying I could see how you could do it, but I also see why you wouldn't do it. So it's definitely weird though how we suddenly jump in this character's here.
Yeah, so suddenly, like literally in the epilogue, we're like, oh, new character. Here's their backstory, and here's what's gonna happen next. So anyway, we meet Rain, and we find out that she is about 10 years old. She's on Rusan, living on her own with a bouncer that she's kind of befriended. And her and her two cousins were recruited by the Army of Light because they were force sensitive. And they were brought in to fight. I guess her cousins were probably old enough to, actually be adults. More like 16, 18, I guess.
I think they are. They're like mid-teenagers, I think.
Yeah. And so she's kind of tagged along because they were the only family she had, and also she was force sensitive, so the Jedi are like, yeah, she'll be useful at some point, whatever. But whenever they were actually like coming in to land, the ship got shot down. Cousins died. The Jedi they were with died. She was left alone and was saved by this bouncer. And so she's been just surviving, living on her own with this bouncer for ever since then. And wouldn't you know, somebody ordered all the bouncers be killed off if they were seen. So a couple of Jedi stumble across her and the bouncer and kill it just in cold blood, even though it was the only one really left that was not insane because of the connection with her.
Yeah, it's so messed up the Jedi would do that.
Yeah,
it's really...
and it's one of those things like you don't buy it, but you have to because of the story.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they explain it. They explain it that it makes sense. It's like, basically these things just got turned rabid all of a sudden. And so they've been just shooting all of them that they see because they've been causing problems. It's like, it makes sense.
Like something that like the Republic soldiers there might have ordered. If there are any. I can't remember if there are any or not. But yeah, it doesn't feel like a very Jedi thing to say, okay, kill all of these living things. Mogo, shut up. The Jedi are not evil. Mogo says, turns out the Jedi are evil. I hate that.
Surprise.
Oh, also Dakota's here. Hello, Dakota. You've been mentioned. Congrats. Here, very late into the podcast.
Yep. So, bouncer executed, and they're like, you okay, little girl? And then she just snaps their necks with the Force. Because she's mad, obviously.
Very, healthy and natural reaction.
Yeah, obviously. So, kills 2 Jedi, or like young, at least Jedi-associated people. And then Bane stumbles across her too. And is like, oh, well, would you looky there? What have I been looking for? An apprentice untainted by the ways of the Sith Brotherhood. And here's this girl, strong in the Force, who just killed a couple of Jedi. What could I possibly need
looking
better?
For somewhere to go.
And Rain introduces herself as Xana, which is her real name.
Yeah.
And she's willing to learn. So, Sith Apprentice, here we are.
Cole, did the book live up to your memory? Was it still a good book to you?
Yes, I think it was.
I agree. This book feels like has not changed too much in my estimation. I remember liking it a lot. I still like it a lot. I think it was really good. Yes, so the book, Mogo, the book does end with 2 Anakins here. we do have 2 Anakins. But yeah, that finally wraps up Darth Bane Path of Destruction. As you can see, Cole has returned to the forward-facing position. I really admire, as I was saying a little bit earlier, I really admire what this book is doing. Taking these stories that... Because, like, all right, you've got Jedi Knight. Dark Forces 2, Jedi Knight. Jarek, the villain there, and Kyle Katarn. Everybody's trying to find the Valley of the Jedi. Ends up on the planet Rusan. And Valley of the Jedi is such a 90s Star Wars thing to say, isn't it? I love it. I love it so much. And that story feels pretty self-contained there. And then, completely independently, Kyle Katarn, I don't remember the exact specifics, so you have to forgive me. Kyle Katarn renounces his Jedi powers. Because that's the thing you can do, I guess. You can cut yourself off from the Force. which is a problem with the video gamification of the Force, I think. And then Kyle's like, oh, I'm one of the only people that knows where the Valley of the Jedi is. I have to go back. Like, he doesn't even tell Luke, because Luke doesn't want to know. Luke's like, I can't know. So he goes back, and he gets his Force powers back. And it's kind of central. It's central to his story in that way. And then I guess Darko Makan, who wrote the Jedi vs. Sith comic, was like, okay, what is the Valley of the Jedi? How does it get here? And that introduces all of its own wrinkles. And, you know, there are things that maybe don't quite add up, but are just disparate. And for some reason, Drew Karpyshyn was like, yeah, oh, this is about 1,000 years before, you know, like, this retcons what Palpatine says, the republics that stood for 1,000 years. Like, we didn't even talk about the Ruusan reformations. We didn't mention that at all. But it's like, because it hasn't happened yet, I don't think. But yeah, it's just, there are so many different things that all point to this book for their groundwork, even though this is the last thing that came out. And I respect it in that way. It does get a little weird. It explains why, you know, it's called the Thought Bomb, and it explains why Bane finds this random 10-year-old girl. And I feel like if you just pick this up without having the context because someone in the EU subreddit told you it was a good book, it might be a little confusing. I didn't have all the context that I do now when I read it the first time. But some things definitely landed for me better having the context. But, you know, none of these things exist in a vacuum. That's kind of the whole reason we love it, I think. So yeah. I can't complain. But listeners, I hope you all enjoyed it as much as we did, because Moco, video game Force powers don't count. Never have, never will. Thank you. Somebody finally said what we all thinking. Ahsoka's great-grandmother was thought bombed. Our thought is popping off right now. Hello, Luke. Or our chat is popping off right now. I don't know. We've wrapped this up at kind of the perfect time, going into the holiday season. Maybe a little break, maybe not. Who knows? I say that having not talked to Cole about any sort of thing we might be doing over the holidays. So don't think that necessarily means anything. But oh, Cole, do you have anything else that you want to add before we get out of here?
I don't think so. I think that pretty much wraps things up pretty nicely.
Okay. Thought bombs regarding what book you might choose next? Obviously, don't say anything. But do you have any? Have you thought about it at all?
I haven't really thought that much about it yet.
Yeah, sure. Fair.
The thing is, we're in the middle of 3 different series right now. Now that we've done this, we have Republic Commando sitting there. You know, we're 2 books deep into it, or 3 books deep into it.
Yeah.
So we're up to Order 66.
I was gonna say our next book is Order 66.
That's definitely like on the cusp of, like, you know.
I know.
Because, man, things come to a head there for sure.
Really? You don't say. Things come to a head.
Yeah, you know, surprise, surprise, that the book about Order 66 has things, you know. Yeah.
I wouldn't complain.
Big surprise.
I wouldn't complain.
And then we also could finish off the Bounty Hunter trilogy. Yeah. Because we haven't done that yet.
I don't know.
I don't know. Definitely lots of options.
A lot of different directions. And you know, I've kind of I read the unofficial last part, or what I think was the last part of Republic Commando, in the form of Bloodlines, not Bloodline. That's a different book.
Well, so you've started the last chapter of the Republic Commando stuff.
Jesus Christ, Karen.
It's all through her books.
I know. It's just one of those things where it's like, I really, really need the only. Everybody watch. I'm going to say something that's going to piss Cole off. The only difference between Timothy Zahn and Dave Filoni is that Dave Filoni works in TV.
I'm sorry. You cut out like right when you said all
that. I said the only difference between Timothy Zahn and Dave Filoni is that Dave Filoni works in TV and Timothy Zahn writes books. I'm just thinking of people writing their own little characters and how I give Dave Filoni a hard time for Ahsoka, but it's really just because Ahsoka and Dave Filoni work on such high-profile projects.
Timothy Zahn never brought us. drawn back to life.
He didn't. He kind of tried, but he didn't. It was
he teased it, but he didn't actually do it.
No, you're right, and obviously there are differences.
I've just gone back and wrote in a bunch of stories about him before he died,
which I might feel differently about things if that was the case.
Yeah, maybe I would too.
But you know, it is what it is. She lives on through the rise of Skywalker, and that's all there is to it.
Hey, until we have, an actual story detailing all that stuff, I don't believe any of that.
I don't either.
Take Filoni's word. I don't care.
No, I just don't. I don't think he wants to put a. I don't think he wants to put a period on it, which is fair.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I actually respect that.
Yeah.
I do respect that he doesn't want to put a period on it because it wasn't his story. I get that.
Mm-hmm.
And when she finally does go, in whatever form that might be, he's going to be the one to do it, and I think he has every right to do that. Would not try to take.
That's totally fair.
Yeah, so
I don't take that from him, but I don't think that should be 3,000 years in the future whenever it happens.
No, probably not. Probably not. Well, okay, we'll be back at some point.
Little known fact that Togrutas are extremely long-lived species.
Please no. Before Cole thought bombs me, thank you Mogo for that. Cole, where can people find you on the internet until we return at some indeterminate point in the somewhat near future?
Yeah, I'm on all the social media platforms at Mando Wraith, and I'm on Skyhoppers whenever we record that. Doing whatever. And I can't imagine we'll start another book before the end of the year. We might have another episode before the end of the year.
Probably won't jump into something quite yet. Mogo's talking about Filoni making Ahsoka.
That is my deepest fear, and I believe it's probably going to happen.
I agree. And it's only my deepest fear, not because of any dislike I have for the character at all. And I think that's actually, we talked about this. This is the kind of the Gandalf story, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think that's cool. I think coming from him, it feels like a cop-out. My issue is with Dave Filoni on that, not with Ahsoka.
Yeah.
And not the actual end result. It is the impetus for why it is happening.
But to me, that's one of those things like that may be just going too far into like the crazy mystical stuff for the Force for me, for my tastes.
And maybe it
does. Like I said, like the whole Mortis, like all of that stuff, the Force gods and everything, all that's a bit too far to me.
Yeah, I would say I would.
It's the kind of thing I think it's one of those things that maybe you can like insinuate, but actually depicting it is a problem to me.
Tom says Grogu is the son, Bendu is the father, Neo Mortis. It's time to leave, my friends.
Yeah, we've opened up a rabbit hole we should not have opened.
This podcast.
The thought bomb is exploding and we're being caught up in it.
This podcast is on Twitter at Obroa-Skai Pod. You can email us at obroaskywalkers@gmail.com. That might be the more reliable way to reach both of us, as I don't check Twitter very often at all. I will say, I have used the podcast Twitter to look at Twitter, but it doesn't happen very often. Thank you, everyone in our chat, for joining us. Thanks for hanging out. You can join us on YouTube. We're pretty easy to find over there. We do exist. Yeah. How do I end this one? Right. Library patrons. Please make your final selections. The library closes in 20 minutes.
Nailed it.
Tom, I did not forget about your question from long ago. Yes, it is a framed CD on my wall. It is. There are 3 of them. This is Age of Empires Gold Edition. Oh god, I shouldn't have taken them off the wall because I'm going to be able to get them back on. This is Age of Empires 2, The Age of Kings. And then you might think Age of Empires 3 is coming next. But no. I didn't like that one very much. Age of Empires 2, The Conqueror's expansion. These are all my original discs that I had growing up. And since everything is on, everything's digital now, and I play Age of Empires, the definitive edition, I think, is what they're up to. I play that. I play Age of Empires 2, the last edition that's on Steam, because it's, I think, the best version. I framed the CDs because I didn't need them anymore, but I wanted to look at them and I did that during my at the end of last year when I was going through my Age of Empires phase that I'm sure we all remember because I made everyone watch it on After Hours. When I was playing. Yeah, like I said, I was right. I can't get these to go back up. Right, I'll fix that later. But yeah, I'm gonna take the stream down here. It is 10 o'clock. It is bedtime for Peepaw Ben. Thanks everyone for hanging out, though. We will see you, probably Skyhoppers, maybe. I don't know. Most of you, I don't know. We'll see.